The original was posted on June 18th, 25 at 4:06 p.m. Public input may be provided using the following methods. You can contact our office at Board of Selectmen at dayton-ma.gov. You can join us via Zoom or in person, of course. And this meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may be, in fact, discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up to discussion to the extent permitted by law. So we're going to have a call to order.
Nicole Mello, present.
Mark Pacheco, present. Now if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first on our agenda is scheduled appointments. Tom Ferry here from the Highway Department for an update on road paving projects. Hi, Tom. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming out.
Same to you.
So as you know, this is a busy time of year. It's the best time of year to do road construction, preservation, reconstruction. We're presently on Main Street, as you know, chugging away on that the best we can. But I'm mainly here tonight because last year we skipped all road projects, trying to build up our Chapter 90 to help us with the Main Street funding. But that's not healthy looking at the town in general with that pavement management. So I'm really planning on focusing on what we were supposed to do last year, this year, because the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets down the road. So I have some dates, some tentative dates to share with you tonight, and I'm sure you'll weigh in on how to communicate with our public so they're well informed of some work that needs to happen. So these 5 streets I'd like to tackle would be Horton Street, Oak Street, Maple Street, Maple Swamp. Oh, it's just a 4, I'm sorry. Yep. I always think the 2 separate roads, Maple and Maple Swamp, really run together. That's where I get the 2 mixed up all the time. So that is going to be a 2-step process. We're going to do what's like a rejuvenator. That's that chemical we put out. It turns the asphalt pink for a little while till it cures. Depending on the humidity, it happens less than an hour, and it's drivable immediately. Sometimes we'll have to broadcast some sand just for grit until it finishes curing if the humidity is too high. And it needs to set for a few weeks. And then after that, there'll be another process. It's similar to the rejuvenator, but it's also more of a crack sealing and preservative seal. And there'll be some paint patching along with that, and also some hand grading on that real rough areas where the alligator cracking's going on and whatnot. Horton Street's the biggest concern because it seems like the asphalt's starting to unravel now, and that one can be very expensive if we don't tackle that one soon. So the dates I'm looking at to start the process is July 21st through the 25th, that week. And you're probably already thinking about the August 2 and 3. So we got to stay away from that. All right, so, and then that second step I mentioned is going to be August 4th through to August 30th. That's a big window, only because it's weather pending for that second step. And that gives us a little wiggle room. We're well aware of the August 2nd and 3rd with PANMAS challenges going through our town. I'll make sure our vendor is well on board, making sure that road is safe for that race. But it's very important that spray goes out early because we need that time gap. And obviously you see taking up the month of August, right after that school's open. So you don't have much time. So that's our plan with that. Is there any questions with it?
Selectman Mello?
So it sounds like from what you just said, these 2 things that you'll be doing are nothing like whatever that thing that was done, I don't know how long ago it was, that caused such an uproar with people's cars. it's not that thing. It was something sticky. I don't.
Yeah, it is.
It is that
The
thing.
biggest uproar was there was no warning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's why I was encouraged from over there and the vendor to do some,
Yeah, to give as much
PR,
warning as
right.
possible. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
So the pavement, we have a road management plan, basically?
yes.
And basically, do you know roughly how many streets we have in Dayton? Very roughly, or maybe I can phrase it this way. From the first road to the last road, how long does it take to get through every street in town that we touch every street?
That's, every street's a little different because of their foundation and their total makeup of what they are.
Okay,
We have a little over 60 miles of road.
okay,
There's no way of starting and then starting again
right,
with that year that you're suggesting, say 10 years. There's no way I can get there within 10 years. So this process here puts around 8 to 10 years on the end life, or at least till the next time we can touch the road. And then there's other roads that need to be addressed also. But these roads here are in the red, they were in the red on that pavement management plan last year.
Does like an engineer or a consultant do that, or is it something done internally within the town? for pavement?
We hired an engineer to create this.
Okay.
It was a third party that did this.
And in general, would you say we're just a year behind, and it was because of Main Street? Just
We're a little more than a year behind, yes.
Okay.
These roads were targeted for last year,
for last year?
yes.
So probably maybe 2 or 3 years behind. It makes sense with our finances and all
Correct.
that. Okay. Is Elm Street on there? On the, like,
It's on the list, but not the immediate list.
it's
no.
not on the immediate list, no. Okay. All right, so are there any streets that are on the list that needs repaving? Or is it all basically protective seals and filling cracks? And I know you mentioned that parts with alligatoring, that would of course have more work, but,
Yes, Main Street is, that road's over 40 years old, since it was last touched. That's one that needs to be repaved.
okay,
There's more to it than just the rideability or the looks of it. There's a lot, we want to make sure the water's not getting through it and hurt the foundation, because that's where it decelerates really quick. I'm not sure where your question was going.
so I guess I'm just thinking longer term, like past these projects.
Right.
What's the next street that is gonna, do you know what the next street is that would be repaved instead of just like the crack filling and all of that stuff? Is there one on our list?
So that list can be somewhat fluid. You just I need a good reason why you're gonna skip a street and.
I'm not, I
jump-
just didn't
No,
know.
I'm being
Yeah.
suggestive.
Okay.
And to go over what is engineered, in the order that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be good reasons, like, utilities had to dig it up unexpectedly, emergency leaks, breaks, stuff like that, and cause irritability, or a sudden fail, that water intrusion. Like I said, it can decelerate the road quickly. So you have some liberties there, but that means everything gets shifted around.
Right. So if we're working on these 4 roads during these weeks that we mentioned, does that mean we won't be working on Main Street? Or I guess, how does that impact the timeline for Main Street? Where are we with
Most of this work is by a third party.
This is by a third party?
If they
okay.
need to, if we need to sand the road, that'll be our sander. We're paying for the details. My supervision there with them also. That's it. I have 3 guys dedicated to the Main Street as best we can.
Okay,
Obviously, the temperature took us off.
right.
We still did drainage somewhere else, though. But yeah, we'll be back on Main Street tomorrow, matter of fact.
Okay, perfect. What did you discuss with Ralph and the rest of the team for communication for this, for the public? Do you have a plan?
We're leaning on you guys to suggest it. I do have my message boards.
Okay.
We do have the different outlets for social media through the town hall. I don't receive them, so I'm not really sure what they are. It's what, Facebook?
We have the town website and town Facebook page.
On Facebook. So I believe that has a good audience.
We
the
add
me-
it to the selectmen announcements.
Yep.
All right.
The message boards can be on the streets in question, but there's 4 of them. Probably better off leaving them in my higher traveled intersections like I do,
Right.
unless you think otherwise.
I was What do you think? Most people coming in or out of town are probably, correct me if I'm wrong, they're going down probably either 44 or 138? Is that probably the most traveled roads outside to
Yeah,
leave?
but those people are not using the roads in question.
Okay,
The ones that are using GPS to cut through, as you know, Maple Swamp and Maple Street, you get the ball field
Right.
tournaments and whatnot, and then people learn that's a nice cut through.
they do.
Horton Street is not as busy now because of the school, but they already trained. That's a nice way to get to 44 through our town. So, I currently have a sign at Center and Williams, so you could hit the people going through Williams, you know, in that area. The other sign now currently is at the transfer station facing Forest Street, but that one can be relocated.
Okay. I would defer to your judgment on where to place them. I was thinking more today just about Main Street. I wasn't aware of these streets, and I was thinking Main Street, like folks, that's probably a more well-traveled cut-through road in town. Is that fair?
Not with the
Not
road
really.
closed signs up.
Okay. That's, all right, that's fair enough. All right, so then whatever you say for the e-signs. I did look at the website for Main Street, and we have an alert from May 8th saying that when it's closed or when there's work being done, we'll update the social media. And I did look at our Facebook page today, and the last update for Main Street was April 28th. So we're not updating our social media. So it would be helpful, you know, if we can work
Right.
with the highway department, make sure that it's being updated frequently and.
Not much has changed. It's work continues.
Right,
It's, unless we change our tactic, you know, funding it plays a role. We'll be in there way into the fall in what we're doing right now.
okay.
So
What do you think about perhaps the Council of Aging newsletter, the,
We put it in our newsletter last month for
The-
June.
oh, perfect,
Thank you.
thank you.
I don't know anyone that could get something at Strawberry Vine.
No?
No.
All right, I figure that's another audience, so that's good to hear.
Through the chair, Mr. Ferry may not like this idea, but I'm going to present it anyway. With Selectman Karen doing the Selectmen's Corner on cable, this might be a good topic. So when Selectman Karen returns, Mr. Ferry will be a guest on the show.
That's
That would be
awesome. Yes, very nice.
You don't have to wear a tie for that, Tom. You-
Great. Okay, yeah, that's, I appreciate it. I don't have any other questions.
Nope,
No
that
more?
was it.
Okay, thank you.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, I was surprised the engineer identified Oak Street as the worst. I think Horton, myself, is the worst, the way it's unraveling, but Oak Street's the worst.
Oh, that actually did remind me. We had an engineer come in that talked about a variety of issues maybe 6 months ago, and one of them was the intersection of Maple and Oak Street, Maple Swamp and Oak Street, and I think it was a visibility issue, perhaps. If we're going to do work on the street, would that interfere with any potential work?
No,
No, okay. Because we're not repaving, so crack filling and all that wouldn't.
right.
I know when you-
Preserving and crack filling,
Right.
that work that's going to happen there is probably going to realign the intersection. I'm not sure if we're going to change the stops at all, but we're going to definitely realign the intersection. So if anything, there'll be less asphalt.
Right.
Right.
I actually do have one more request. I don't know how you feel, Selectman Mello, but I think it might be cool if everyone worked together and did maybe a little press release on this that basically says, like, alerts the public, we have a street maintenance plan. These are the roads that our engineer says are next on the list. So we're following that order. And he has the dates. And then also Main Street, where do we stand with that and the timeline? Because I think they all kind of go together, and those would be all of the natural questions folks would have.
It's funny because I had written down, even before you said that, reach out to JGPR. I think this is a good press release for them.
Perfect. Awesome. And any anticipated questions you could think of in that would be great. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
thank you.
I look forward to seeing that YouTube.
It's going to be good. Okay, next we have Robert Perry, Dayton Economic Development Committee, for an update on an impact fee study.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for your time. As you recall, a number of months ago, we spoke regarding the startup of a proposal I had made to the planning board to try to develop an impact fee, ultimately a bylaw. Well, during my research, and which was extensive, and I'll go over some of that with you, I concluded this task, as I put in my cover letter to you, was way beyond my legal or technical capability to do. So I changed my focus to delineate the actions that would be necessary to put a development impact fee in place, okay? And there are basically three key steps. Number one, and in this order, by the way. Number one is a home rule petition. Number two is a nexus study. Number three are implementing documents. Okay, and I'll go over each one of those. The home rule petition, if you look in section 2 of the document that I provided to you, basically, it's a petition to the legislature to allow a town or a municipality to go outside the purview of existing state law and what state law allows the municipality to do. And it needs to be focused on, your petition needs to be focused on a specific thing that would allow the town to move forward with a certain task or certain responsibility or certain action that they want to take. And it must be filed by a local state representative or senator, ultimately in the legislature. And I'm told the process may take between a year and 2 years to work its way through the legislature and be signed by the governor. And it's my recommendation is that if we go forward with this, or the planning board go forward with it, be done by town council, and I'll come back to that point later. I enclosed a flow chart in there to how a home rule petition becomes law, and it's fairly straightforward. Unfortunately, each step is very time-consuming and very, very detailed. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. The next is the nexus study. If you look on section 1 of the document that I provided to you, nexus study, it's a nexus study establishes a connection or a nexus between the need for additional public facilities. Key word here, additional public facilities or services, and the impact caused by a new development. Okay, now, let me stop there for a minute. All the research I did, and by the way, the references that I made as I was talking to Selectman Pacheco earlier, they're sort of the best article of all the articles I read on a particular issue, okay? But they're very clear that the nexus study, you need to define how a development would further impact or further stress or further demand the services that the town provides. In other words, you can't go and say, well, we need to put a new roof on the school. What you can say is, because of this development or a series of developments, if you will, we need to add 5 more classrooms. Now, that falls within the purview of what the law would allow, okay? And it provides a factual basis for determining the amount of impact fees, and it provides an audit trail for how these fees were arrived at, and determination of the impact and how the fees were arrived at, okay? That's what the Nexus study does, and it's really a quite complex study, and it's very localized. It's for your specific municipality. I mean, there's a generic generator, if you will, of look at this, look at that, but then it boils down to the specific municipality, okay? Any questions on that? Okay. And finally is the implementing documents. Again, Section 2, implementing documents. Documents are developed by the municipality must describe in detail all aspects of the implementation program, impact fee implementation program. It must include a description of how the fees are collected, which town services are impacted, how the funds are to be dispersed and utilized, with a detailed audit trail behind it. Okay. And that's a very brief description of a very complex issue. When I briefed the planning board, I said basically, if you look at the summary, I recommended to them that perhaps they tabled it to have further discussion, that they perhaps consider putting the home rule petition or moving forward with a home rule petition through an attorney, perhaps town attorney, town council. Because the process takes so long, it would be wise, in my opinion, to have the home rule petition in place. Again, it may take a year, year and a half. So if we come up someday where suddenly we have all the money to do a Nexus study, we can move forward with it. And this is, it's one of those things you say, well, it's going to cost this much, okay? And during the first few years, we're only going to collect this much. Well, then we bypass what it cost us. And I believe it's Milford has collected quite a bit of money since the early 1980s for those service impacts such as fire, police. You can use it for instance, a council on aging. You can use it for playgrounds, et cetera, as long as it's identified and tracked. Nexus study is not inexpensive, but here again, I'm not in a position to make that decision, but you as boards, elected officials, and the planning board also should sit down and consider whether you want to move forward with it. Again, I would recommend that you at least start the ball rolling for the Nexus study. The home rule petition. Now, I mentioned Selectman Pacheco, and he's perhaps a little too young, which is good, to remember that way back when I was a kid, there was an old commercial. God, I said when I was a kid, I didn't mean to offend anybody here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, watch out for bolts of lightning here.
Either the TV or that, or something always going on in here.
There was an old commercial where a mechanic stood there with a Fram filter. And he said, you could pay me now, and the filters were about $3 at the time, or he showed a burned out engine, or you could pay me later. The reason I use that analogy is it is crystal clear in all the research that I did that it is best to have legal involvement at the beginning for the, and actually all steps, but at the beginning when you put together the home rule proposal, it's best to hire a firm that has expertise in Nexus study. And also, when we get to implementing documentation, again, through town council, because it became crystal clear. And I use that analogy because if you cheap it at the front end, and we pass it into law or whatever, we have implementing documentation. Developers will go all the way back to your genesis, meaning the first day you decided to start the home rule, if you don't run it through an attorney, and challenge it every single step of the way. And I'm also led to believe, not being an attorney, that when developer A has dragged you through the court, developer B says, oh, by the way, I'm filing against the town too, and they'll go back to Genesis again. So to minimize, to dot all the i's and cross all the t's through the legal and technical expertise that's available is prudent, okay? Because it would certainly not eliminate, but minimize the challenges to ultimately any program that the town chooses to put in place if we so choose to do that. That's my spiel. Questions?
Yes. Selectman Mello?
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for your work on this. It sounds like it was lengthy, and what you presented us was very comprehensive, so thank you.
If you decide to, the appropriate boards decide to move forward with it, I would be happy to act as a facilitator, a go-getter, or whatever, between whatever boards, because I'd like to see this move forward. And I would not, and I'm still looking for that word, I couldn't I couldn't make legal contracts for the town. I wouldn't want to do that, and I said I wouldn't do it here, but just to facilitate, to be somebody that could run and do things, do this, do that, check this, check that. But I think it's, the planning board, as I said, tabled it because they want to discuss it. And again, my recommendation to them and to you was, if we can find some money, maybe at the fall special town meeting, address that issue and try to move forward with the home rule petition. That's what I've got.
I like this idea the first time I heard it, and now that you've put together such a comprehensive report, I still think it's worth it. It's worth the effort for Dayton. We're at a point where we have growth, and we have growing pains, and I would like to see this move forward. I don't want to see it just die with any of these boards. I'd like to see it move forward to town meeting and see if we can get funding for it. You know, that's the first step. It would be funding and drafting that home rule petition. So I think in the spirit of collaboration, it wouldn't be a bad idea to either invite the planning board to a selectman meeting or see if we could just have a joint meeting with the planning board. I think that showing that it's a priority of the Board of Selectmen, I don't know how your feelings are on that, if it is a priority. But if it was a priority of the Board of Selectmen, maybe if we just put all our heads together, Mr. Perry, if you wanted to be there, and the
Sure.
planning board, we could just talk about what resources we have that we could throw at it and kind of like the next steps. What are your thoughts on that?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I may, just a question to Mr. Perry. This may be my mistake, but home rule petition, right? Would it be home rule petition just for the impact fees, or are we discussing a town charter, as you understand it?
The okay, this is Massachusetts courts have ruled that impact fees are not permitted under state law. To address this issue requires a home rule petition supported by a local elected board or the planning board and be sent to the legislature for review. In Massachusetts, a home rule petition is a unique legislative mechanism that allows cities and towns to request specific powers or exemptions from state law that are tailored to their local needs. Unlike standard state legislation that applies uniformly across Massachusetts, home rule petitions provide municipalities a way to address local challenges and governance issues.
Okay.
So I didn't
right,
look
so-
at charters or whatever, but that's the definition of home rule petition.
We have a home rule petition specific to Dayton for recalls for elected officials. So
Okay,
the town has been through it before my time, but I know one exists, so.
So I will
think we could
reach
do
out
it.
to town council just to start getting some timelines and numbers on how much it would cost, and then we could I'll talk to Mr. Perry about it, and then maybe we could coordinate something. I'll bring it up to the chair, and maybe we could have that joint meeting. So,
Awesome. That'd be
we have
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think that's great. Thank you so much.
I anxiously await your call.
We do too.
Take care. Thank you very
Yes.
much for your time.
I know the floor is not open, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Mary, I'm just curious, are you aware of any other surrounding towns that have either started this procedure or have either implemented it or have been successful?
I believe it's Milford, did this back in the early 1980s. And they are, a year or so ago, they started looking at updating their existing impact fee. And that was, they were looking at some pretty significant costs there. I also believe it's either Foxborough or Franklin, I forget, is starting to, from my understanding, starting to look into this overall process also. Again, that's, you read so many things and then you talk to people, et cetera, and that's what I'm led to believe. Whether that's gospel or not, I can't say. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, here again, it's an opportunity, I believe, to, as the town grows, this is kind of, and I don't mean to get off on a tangent,
No, this is
but,
worth it.
if this would not, in my view, should not impact you as an individual homeowner, if you decide you want to sell your house on Main Street and build on Pine Street, not affect you, but we're talking a developer plopping maybe 20 or 30 or 40 houses into place. Each one of those houses drives an incremental increase in town services, and at some point, as an example, I lived in Maryland for a while, Frederick, Maryland, and they had a plan where they almost could identify, the number of increments required before a new police shift was required, an additional fire shift was required, and it was, they were able to do that and say, hey, we've reached this point, now we can take the money that's been accrued from their impact fees and put it against that police cruiser. So instead of going into if we were in that position, instead of going into town meeting and say, the police need a new cruiser, the way I envision things is we have collected this money in our implementing documentation. We have said so much percentage goes to police, so much fire, as a result of the Nexus study. And so when the police come in and say, we need a new cruiser, the board could say, well, and however it's structured, I'll say this board could say, well, we can take it out of the impact fee money because we've reached that point where, yeah, we're driving a new cruiser. I mean, that's kind of a crude example, but okay. Did that answer your question, or? Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Nancy Goulart, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, to report on the proposed Greater Attleboro Taunton Home Consortium budget, the pilot agreement, 2 pilot agreements as well.
Just a correction, I'm not chairman of the Board of Assessors, Mr. Moore is. That's just a typo in there.
Right.
So I would like to speak about the pilot agreements first, because that's assessors. There is no connection between my representing the town at Gathic and the Board of Assessors. So, tonight, you have the pilot agreements that were voted at 2 town meetings. One is for the largest solar farm in town, designated MACS, otherwise referred to as Arujo Farms, and that's going to require a vote to approve and sign, to execute it, and then we will get it recorded, and a copy will be sent to MACS, the address that's listed in the agreement. The other one is the pilot agreement, and the title of that is Letters and Numbers. It's Brook Street Solar. It's the easiest way to describe it. Grasshopper Energy. That's the one that got voted at town meeting this year. Same thing. We will need a vote of the Board of Selectmen to approve and sign that so that it can be fully executed. And again, recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and then a copy will be sent to Jonathan Prasad, who is now the contact for the town of Dayton for everything related to Brook Street Solar. As I reported at town meeting, the pilot agreement for Brook Street is in excess of $823,000 over 20 years. And MACS, also known as Arujo Farms, that pilot agreement is in excess of $1.2 million in personal property taxes over 20 years. So that's what you have to act on tonight for pilot agreements.
And that, as you said, both were voted on at town meeting already?
Yes, yes. And as a matter of fact, Mrs. Brady spoke to me tonight about the dates, because when we issued those and they were approved, there's a blank on the first page near the top, and that's the date it gets approved at town meeting. Even though the signing dates may have been different, the approval date at town meeting is the important one,
Yes.
followed by your subsequent action, because your action must come after town meeting vote. Okay?
Makes sense. So I have no questions. Selectman Mello?
No, I don't have any questions.
I'd entertain a motion on it.
I'll make a motion to approve and to sign on the pilot agreement between GHTJA 03 LLC 5935 Airport Road, Suite 210, Canada, in the town of Dayton.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
At this time, can I make my second motion?
Please.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign the pilot agreement between MACS Dayton LLC, 100 California Street, Suite 400, San Francisco, and the town of Dayton.
All right, I'll step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, relative to Brook Street, the only thing that I'm waiting for now is in that agreement, towards the very end, there's a section called miscellaneous. And there's a requirement that once approved, the company send the town a check for $5,000, which represents the cost to the town of putting these together and recording them and doing all those things. So I did send an email to Mr. Prasad and tell him I would get back to him tonight, because the board was acting on it, and please go to that section of the contract and have a check sent. So, and that will go into estimated receipts and into the general fund. So each pilot agreement has that $5,000 clause, at least the ones I've worked on. The ones that are older, I don't believe they do, but since we went to the boilerplate, the 5,000 is in there. So
Perfect.
I just did want to mention, in response to what Mr. Vitaco said, we don't have a town charter.
I know.
Okay, so what's over there is basically the town charter. So anyhow, getting back to the rest of my topic. So Greater Attleboro Taunton Housing Consortium is a group of 14 communities, 2 of which, Attleboro and Taunton, are cities. And this ad appeared in the Attleboro paper, and when I saw it, this is a notice to the public that a draft proposed budget for PY25 has been put together. Actually, there's more than one budget depending upon the program. PY means program year. This does not follow, excuse me, a fiscal year, because it's HUD money, it's federal government, and their fiscal year is not July 1 to June 30th. So, this is out there as the action plan. The estimated cost they're hoping to get approved for community development block grants is $867,451. And then the home program, which is listed right under that, is $874,480. These usually come out attached to an agenda, but it didn't come out that way, because when the attachment comes out, I always give it to the town clerk and ask him to post it. When I saw this, I knew that this had to be posted for public input purposes. So after the public input time span, June 23 to July 25, closes, the consortium, which is based at City Hall in Taunton, will make any changes that may result from that public input. And then sometime after that, there'll be a meeting scheduled of the communities that are listed in here to vote on the plan year budgets. So I just wanted the town to know, the public to know, the part of the project money that Dayton benefits from is the new first-time home buyers, and that amount now is up to $25,000 in assistance for first-time home buyers. Attleboro, Taunton, Middleborough, they've benefited from other funds because they've had old buildings that could be made into apartments or affordable housing or whatever. If anything like that ever is available in Dayton, obviously we would be in touch with Gathic to say, are there any funds available to help us with that kind of a conversion of a building? But this is mainly informational, but because it didn't come through the normal channels, and I happened to see it in the paper, I asked that we post it just so that anyone, the general public, town officials, anybody who might want to see the detail can go to Taunton City Hall during the time period and get information, make comments, whatever, okay? So I think that's everything I had.
Awesome,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right, next we have the best part of the agenda, and that is announcements.
It's short, too. The Dayton Lions Club Food Bank will be held next on Saturday, July 19th, 2025, located at Town Hall, 979 Somerset Avenue at the lower level.
That was way too short.
I know, I love it.
All right, next, Selectmen reports?
I don't have anything.
No? Okay. I don't have a report, but I just kind of have a comment. I was thinking about, I think before I was on the board would kind of talk about goal setting, I believe. And so I've been on the board for 14 months. I don't think we've ever had a conversation about that. So I thought I would just introduce it at this meeting, and maybe at our next meeting we could talk about it. I think it made sense why we really didn't have any for the last year, because our goal was to get through the budget cycle, because it was a pretty tough one. However, there are, instead of just folks putting things on the agenda, I think the selectmen should all kind of have a goal, perhaps, or we could all agree to a goal or two, but just to kind of help focus us on different things in the town. So I was hoping we could do goal setting at our next meeting, just for the selectmen to talk about.
Sure.
On the agenda. And also, I was thinking about the budget. Hasn't gone away, and we did have votes at town meeting. One, to table the trash discussion for a sanitation fund, and we had a positive vote for accepting the Mass General Law that allows for basically what a yes vote or a no vote means for the different types of either debt exclusion or Prop 2.5. And we want to work towards that for April, and that's only 8 months away. So I thought that should be on each agenda, just for us to discuss it, because we can work on it bit by bit, trying to get, I know the public craves more information on the sanitation fund, like what's our thought on what it would look like, so. Talking about it between now and the fall town meeting, we should work at that every single meeting towards getting something really nice to present. And a debt exclusion vote, I hope we put on for the next annual town election, and I think we should work on that for the next 8 months. So that's kind of my report, I guess. That's
You already put
some
your goals.
No, 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 that's, okay, yeah, there's some. All right, I'll take it. So next we have town administrator report.
Oh, thank you. Well, in line with that, as you recall, it's my intent to do really some stringent budget discussions. The last meeting in July and the two meetings in August, so we could get direction, and it ties in directly to what you had mentioned, Selectman Pacheco. So we're on board. I know I have a meeting with our finance team next week, next Tuesday, so that's what we're going to be discussing and preparing that, so to help in the decision-making process. You're going to be reaching out just to make sure that the selectmen are still on board with the sanitation enterprise fund. We'll be starting with that, in earnest, trying to develop sort of, for lack of a better term, a storyboard as to, what it is, how it will affect the public and why we need it. More robust than what we had done for this past meeting. And also one of the goals, and one of my goals, and something I had brought up, personal policy. We're going to create a personal policy review board. Our personnel policies have really not been updated. It's something a town should have, and we should do. So I'm putting together an internal team to start looking at those policies and procedures. It helps with members who work for us who are not on contract, and sort of it'll guide us on how to create contracts for individuals and just general questions which may come up. So we're going to be reaching out to we have examples from other towns. Our town council, Clifford and Kenny, has provided us with some examples. So putting a team together. So we're going to update that, and as we progress, we're going to present that to the selectmen. Next up, an update: ReWorld proposed disposal agreement extension. So keeping in line with sanitation, we had so ReWorld is the one who accepts our solid waste, our municipal solid waste. And we have a contract with them, and what I'm presenting was approved by the Board of Health. What we had initially thought, we budgeted for the first number, the $100, probably the $100 the ton. So it's about, we anticipated $159,000 and some change. We reworked the schedule to move money around, especially this year, fiscal year 26. We got them to drop that number and just move numbers around, and as a result of that, we'll be saving about a cost savings for this year about $30,000. So I know we're running an extremely tight budget for fiscal year 26, so that will be helpful. So I just presenting this to you, so it's happening, and I want you to be aware of it. And after we agreed to them that we're okay with the terms, we should be receiving a contract from them, which, like I said, we'll present to both the Board of Health and to the Selectmen. Any questions?
So just for clarification, this is our CMAS contract. At our last meeting, we signed the Borges contract.
Right.
He's our hauler.
He's our hauler.
And
this is where he takes the stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we are under the impression right now it's the Board of Health who would execute this contract.
Yes.
Okay, no, just for the public to know.
Yeah.
3-year contract, it doesn't sound too bad as far as
No,
the pricing.
yeah, it's steep, but it's in line with what facilities are getting, but we're able to, again, rework it a little bit so we could see some savings for this year.
Thank you.
And then, actually, the day of town meeting, we got a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek a letter from the town of Berkeley, and on how we could work together on certain things. I'm not going to go through everything, but the gist of it is, as we move forward, there may be, both towns have significant financial constraints, and I think the fact that they're open, and I hope that we as a town are open, and we may be able to share some services. So that may be something we could explore in the future. That might be something we could bring up, as a presentation in our budget. I don't think we're going to rename the Dighton Rock. We're going to get a naming fee or anything like that. But I think more importantly, it's a reach out for to be a cooperative. If there's something we can share, I think it's something we should explore through an intermunicipal agreement. So that's that. Two other things which I sort of received late, but just to give you an update on the building committee for the school selected an owner's project manager, an OPM. It's Skanska. It's a company which is familiar with school construction, and the reason why I bring it to the board tonight is that in the future, in the near future, probably in September or so, the board, since the school is on our property, the board will be the ones who sign the contract with Skanska. We're going to be setting something up with myself, the superintendent, and one of the select members, most likely the chair, to start reviewing review that contract, to be prepared for it. And last, we have an individual in town who's looking for a TIF, a tax break on a property here, a commercial property in town. We had a TIF committee. At one point, it had a member of the select board on it. We're reviewing that. I know it'll be going before the assessors, so I just want to update you on that. At some point, we may request a member of the select board to be on that TIF committee. So that's all I have for my town administrator report.
Any questions, Selectman Mello?
No, I don't know if Berkeley realizes the financial situation we are if they're asking for coffee milk. We don't have those funds. I read that numerous times, and I was like, is this funny? Like, I don't know funny anymore.
Yeah. Oh, no, they were being funny.
No, I did enjoy it once I gained
yeah.
my sense of humor again. I appreciate that.
So, where do we stand with the Board of Health? Have we posted that yet?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did?
We did. We did post the health agent. They did interviews last week for the nurse.
Okay.
Have we heard anything?
We haven't heard back.
We haven't heard back yet about if they decided yet on the nurse. I think we're going to keep the health agent open up a little longer. We're going to expand to probably up to MMA. We put on their website. I know it usually gets a lot of hits. We put it on a health dedicated website. So hopefully we'll keep it open a little longer to increase the pool of applicants that we have.
Have you've received applicants?
We received one and then one inquiry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was thinking with that Berkeley letter, perhaps they would be interested in I don't know how the Board of Health would feel, I don't want to step on their toes, but would they be interested in a shared Board of Health agent position?
You know, I would say let's go through this process first and let's see. They're kind of, I don't know if they have a full-time position over there.
It
either.
might be worth figuring
Yeah,
out,
Yeah,
since we haven't made any decisions yet.
yeah.
I know
So-
Berkeley right now relies on one of their board members to be their agent, as far as I know, so they might be interested in bringing someone on part-time,
Yeah.
and we're looking for someone part-time, and then that
I'll reach
person-
out and say if we could do, yeah,
That would be really nice, that we'd have more to offer.
yeah,
That'd be a nice shared regional position in similar-sized towns,
yeah.
similar,
Problems, yeah.
similar problems, yep, similar lifestyles, so. And also, could we, I've asked for it a couple times, a Zoom policy. Can we have that?
That's
perhaps
one
for
of
our
the
next
things we're
meeting?
going to be working on as well, so, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'm very concerned about
Yeah.
what happened at our meeting a
Yeah.
few months ago happening again. Okay, thank you. All righty. Next, we have old business, review, discuss, and act Board of Selectmen meeting schedule for July 25 through December.
So with that, for the most part, everything worked out well. There was some confusion. Selectman Pacheco, you asked for the September meeting to be September 30th, which is a Tuesday. So the only change is if the board, instead of, to keep it on the Wednesday, instead of the September 30th, October 1st. That's the only real difference. So, as you can see, it's highlighted. That's why it's highlighted. You must have been using an old calendar, Mark.
I was trying to do math in my head, so it didn't work out so well.
So we just need a motion to make that meeting October 1st? Is that what we're looking for?
I think it just in to accept the schedule as presented.
I'll make
the
a motion to
revised schedule.
accept the schedule as presented tonight's agenda.
I'll step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Great. All right, public input. All righty, Ms. Goulart.
So it's the monthly reminder, PMC, Jimmy Fun Bike Ride, August 2nd and 3rd. August 2nd is the day it will come through Dayton. So just so the residents know, be out there and waving, and anyone that wants to volunteer, get in touch with PMC. There's lots of opportunities at Dayton, Rehoboth. You don't even have to leave town to volunteer. All sorts of positions. I saw the Berkeley letter that was included. I thought it was a joke, but then I read it a couple of times more. It was only signed by 2 selectmen, and I'm wondering,
They only have 2 right now, I thought.
did Mr. Miller not, he was on for a long time.
Yeah, so the gentleman, and it must have been Mr. Miller, he left right before they were gonna have their annual election. It was too
Oh,
close
so
to do. Now they have to have a special.
So they didn't have a write-in campaign or anything? He was
No,
just
yeah.
Okay. Just thoughts on that. Historically speaking, there would be such a public outcry to change the name of the rock.
Oh my, yeah.
The bridge was funded with 80% federal and 20% state money. Putting tolls on that bridge. I mean, what do we have, one toll highway now in Massachusetts, and it's the Pike? I don't know we have tolls on bridges, but anyhow.
I think the Cape Cod bridges, they talked about perhaps put tolls on the new
Well,
ones.
at least with those, you'd be getting a lot of,
I'm going to have to ask for a raise then.
Right, absolutely.
but you'd be getting a lot of people that come to the state seasonally, whereas that bridge, I can see the truckers' unions and everybody else going, like with the tolls in Providence and all of that. But anyhow, just historically speaking, I don't know if the people who signed the letters understand. We were all part of Taunton at one time. And then the South Purchase became Dayton in 1712. It wasn't until 1735 that Berkeley broke off from Dayton and Berkeley was formed. But the other thing I thought of, in Portugal, there is a big statue right on the waterfront recognizing Miguel Corte Real, who was supposed to have been the explorer that they think came up the river and went to Dighton Rock, one of the theories. So I'm thinking, oh, this is now got international connections.
Right.
We don't want to upset them. But it was just something that really stood out. I grew up in Berkeley, and for the last, seems like 100 years, I've been a resident of Dighton. And to think that if it was serious, I'm thinking, you can't do this. This is just so, I think, divisive, not bringing us together. And we all have financial difficulties in our towns. But I don't mind working with anybody to our mutual benefit, but I think the rock and and it's a state park. You just can't say, let's change the name to the whoever or whatever, the Berkeley Rock Park. Anyhow.
Doesn't have the same ring.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, can we add
Maderas.
to announcements the Pan Mass Challenge?
If I may, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but somebody's celebrating a birthday. So, happy birthday, Mrs. Brady.
Happy birthday.
Thank you for sharing it with
It
us.
is? I didn't know that.
18.
I said 21.
Oh, that makes more sense.
It's 28 today.
There you go.
Laura Madera, 1645 Maple Street. I am looking for kind of, I work with timelines and more of a, I do better with understanding it that way. So in our annual town meeting, I understand that the votes went through for the clarification for the yes and no votes for a potential debt exclusion. So for that, does that mean in the fall meeting, we're going to have a vote at the special town meeting to put that on a ballot? So is it something that just goes on a ballot? What would the timeline be for that to potentially go back to the townspeople to vote on?
So the Board of Selectmen will vote on it to go on the next ballot. So we'll vote on it, I think it's like 28 days or so before the election, but we'll vote on it a couple months beforehand to place the question back on the next municipal ballot. So I would
Gotcha,
imagine
okay, so that happens at a selectmen's meeting.
Selectmen meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, kind of related, kind of not related, because it's all financial. I understand in the fall, supposedly at a recent department head meeting, there was more discussion on different ideas for personnel, ways to, if something like this weren't to go through, if a debt exclusion goes on the ballot and it doesn't pass, ways for next fiscal year. How does that timeline look? Is that something that would be discussed around like September or October about if there were to be cuts in personnel or services? What does that timeline look like, just to give people a heads up, townspeople and employees?
Through the chair, if I could, if you like. That's one of the things we're going to be bringing up in our discussions, the three meetings in the summer, just to sort of lay it out, what it would look like if we do not. If the fiscal alternative is to reduce personnel and services, what would that look like? You know, what are the numbers and what it would be? You know, first things first, we're doing a calculation on what the anticipated shortfall is. And I'm going to give a nod to Nancy. Right now, she gave me the pilot numbers, so which helps, we got to figure out how that
Right.
adds, what that adds into the
Layers
shortfall. And it's still a big number, the shortfall, but not as big as it was, but still a serious number.
So those will be discussed kind of month by month. Is that something that would be, well, sorry, go ahead.
No. Right. It's through the direction of the selectmen, but it's my intention to bring it the last meeting in July, the meetings in August, because we have to know. I mean,
Yeah.
the financial team the administrative side of the town has to understand the direction that the selectmen in the town want to go in. And once we get that direction, we'll know the steps we have to take. So
Awesome.
I would rather start sooner
All right.
than later. I don't want to, especially if we have to make some super serious decisions. I want to be going into the fall knowing what I have to do.
Okay, so that is something that would be discussed in selectmen meetings then, like what that breakdown of all of this information would look like, because I do think, not to knock any other boards or committees or some meetings that aren't filmed and broadcasted, this is definitely the more watched meetings. So I just was curious I didn't understand if that was something that was going to happen in the summer or if that was going to be a little later. But if your findings of the specifics would be discussed in a Board of Selectmen meeting so the townspeople will know what options could happen for specific services, specific departments, XYZ, like to be discussed in a more formal meeting setting that would be aired.
Yes.
I guess I'm
Yeah.
asking
No,
both.
no, that has been. Correct me if I'm misspeaking. That's been sort of the marching orders I've been getting from the board throughout the months. We want to be able to lay it out to the public before town meeting.
Right. Give people a better idea
Give people
of-
enough time as to what's going on, and really to be as transparent as possible, and to give people an opportunity to speak to it, and really give the selectmen an opportunity to hear that and sort of guide the financial ship to whichever way we have to take it.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern, was the transparency part of it and allowing people enough time to either watch, hear, or understand what the potential impact could be if we do end up in a situation where the finances aren't financing to cover all of the services that the town offers.
It goes back kind of to my point that I made earlier about it'd be nice to have on every agenda kind of, we can continue to work on I want to say impact fees because that was first on the agenda, the sanitation fee, if we can do a sanitation enterprise fund or, have another vote for a debt exclusion. But I did not mention personnel. I had discussed personnel prior to our annual town meeting, and I have brought it up again. I know it died after we discussed it as a board. So I think it should be brought up again to give everybody what the three options would. Looking towards town meeting next June, we'll kind of got to know the scenario before
Right.
we walk in, because moving towards the fall town meeting, we're going to know if the town supports an enterprise fund or not. And then moving towards April, we're going to know if the town supports a debt exclusion or not. So
Right.
when we walk into town meeting next year,
That'll be more the eye opener, yeah. Right.
we'll kind of probably already know the direction of the
Yeah.
town.
But figuring out this aspect of it will give, I think, residents more of an idea of if these two large things don't happen,
Right.
the real impact that will affect on services and personnel and
Yes.
things like that. So I think if you're able to continue to update them in Board of Selectmen meetings, and obviously after, say, the fall meeting, if that passes or doesn't pass, what that means, same thing in April when we get a little closer, but I think that would be really helpful. That would be my request, if you guys are able to continue to update people on where that stands.
I think we should show what option 1, 2, and 3 would look like for the town. So I hope we can
That's
do that, and
yeah, that's my intent.
that's the
Hope-
intent.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Ms. Reynolds?
Hi, Gwen Reynolds, 1771 Milk Street. Actually, I have a question regarding the contract for hauling the trash. So if that's a 5-year contract, and it's based, I thought, and I didn't print it out, else I would refer to it more specifically. It's based on a certain amount. Now, are we still paying those numbers if that amount changes? And the question being, as we've talked about trash in town for a while now, and I've seen where they've said, oh, maybe we'll have a compost and get everybody compost, and we can try to reduce our trash. So say we reduce the trash, how is that going to affect the numbers? Was that specifically addressed in that contract?
It's based on it's based on the weight. So they based it on the weight. We traditionally use 1,575 tons. It's kind of, it is based on that. We're not going to significantly drop that, but if we dispose of less, we pay per ton.
But is that specifically addressed in there? I mean, what if
It will be-
what if
yeah, it will
for
be-
some reason we did really significantly reduce our trash?
No, it'll be in the contract. Yeah, it'll be in the contract.
And is there an out clause in that contract if after 3 years we found something better that we could do, or we're locked into that?
We haven't received the contract yet. These are the numbers. This is the negotiating part of the contract, so it'll be submitted.
And is this the same company we use generally rolling over, or
Yes.
is it a new one? Okay. I was just curious because I had seen that. My other thing, the Berkeley letter, I thought that was pretty interesting. I give them a lot of credit, like they're trying to test the waters a little bit. I like how they wrote it. It wasn't like, I think they were just trying to be very approachable in how they wrote that. I would probably answer with, maybe if you wanted to have a meeting, it's BYOC, and you bring your own coffee.
Right.
You know, but these times have changed. We know that. We're in situations, they're a small town too, and I would just think that they're trying to think outside the box. And how might that look? So everything's on the table. In my opinion, everything should be on the table. But, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public input? Anything on Zoom? Is anyone on Zoom?
No.
No? All right. Okay. So, Ms. Reynolds is here. How would you feel about taking that out of order?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to take correspondence out of order.
I will step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So next on the agenda, we have correspondence, a letter from Gwen Reynolds to the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if you want to come on down, and I'll read the letter, and we'll take it from there. So let me find it. Do you have the letter open?
I do.
Do you mind if I just read it?
Yeah.
I'll give it back. Okay. So it says, "Dear board members, thank you for your commitment to serving the residents of Dayton, especially during these trying times. The needs are many, yet the budget is finite. There have been several suggested ways to balance the budget, any of which will cause grief and/or hardship to certain populations, demographics of our townspeople. I strongly believe there are more subtle ways of making the numbers work without causing undue stress or lack of tools for the various departments in town. There are always more efficient ways to do things, or even areas where small tweaks can save larger sums. We hear plenty of those talks these days, and yes, I believe there is waste in town. With that said, if the board is so inclined, I would like to volunteer to help close the gap and see where we can implement process improvements and enhance efficiencies which would lead to overall cost reductions. I have 20 years of business experience, particularly in this area, cost reductions and process improvements. Several areas are already on my mind, so I do feel it's possible to make a difference if the town is really looking for change and accountability. I look forward to your response, Gwen Reynolds." Thank you. Thank you for your correspondence, and I didn't know, did you have anything, did you want to speak to the letter at all?
I think the letter speaks for itself. I just feel like a lot of people talk a good game and they complain. I'm the type of person, I don't want, if I'm going to complain about it or talk about it, I want to try to have a solution for it. And so I don't want to be a hypocrite and then not put it out there that, and I do believe I could help. I don't know in what degree, because sometimes, you know, if you look at a house from the outside and it looks so beautiful and it looks perfect, but if you went inside, you would see, hey, there's really no furniture in there, or there's nothing to it. So until you really go in and really look deep, so I can't stand up here and say, oh, maybe we could do this, or maybe we could do that. I do have certain ideas of, you know, where I could start looking. But, so I just want to be a help if I can be a help. And if not, at least I know I tried. I tried to do what I could to help my town out. And, you know, I'm open-minded to how that might look or how that might go, or, you know, I don't have an agenda. I just have a hope to help the town. Also, like, business and everything has changed over the years, and a lot of times it's human nature to still do the same old thing. And so that's why sometimes process improvements, those efficiencies aren't realized, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Selectman Mello, do you have any comments?
No, I don't have anything.
No? Okay. I think it's a good idea. I kind of picture, I did talk to the town administrator about it. I know there's been talk about you having a conversation with Mr. Fataco on that sometime in July, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
no, well, I mean, when we had talked, I said I was going to reach out to you in sometime in July. We would sit down.
I thought it was more open. Okay, I didn't recall that it was July or anything.
Okay.
I know it was
Open, I'm
before, it was
sure would be
before the
fine.
town meeting, and it was like, oh, maybe we'll have, okay. Hey, and I just want to add, tongue-in-cheek, if you will, if you want to pay me, I'm happy to accept a fee, but I had offered to volunteer just because of the situation,
Okay.
so. And I do think humor is important.
Me too. Berkeley would love you. I kind of pictured this. So we have a finance team in town hall, and they are there by function of bylaw now, because that was voted in. It's in our bylaws. Who composes that team, and we also have a finance committee who meets at certain times of the year to help us with town meeting and fall town meeting and year-end transfers, so they're here just for certain times of the year. So it makes sense to have perhaps maybe more of a group of citizens, more, you know, that look at our finances year-round, or look at process improvements or different ideas. So I kind of pictured referring it to the finance committee, the idea of a different group of folks who look at better ways of doing things, who meet on a more regular basis than, say, the finance committee does, and has a different objective than, say, our internal financial team does. I think they all kind of fill a different gap in the town. So based on your letter, I feel like it'd be most fitting for it to be referred to the finance committee, for them to discuss it, and our town administrator already extended an invitation. I think that should still happen, because there may be things that the board hasn't considered. Maybe that's not the best direction to go. So I don't know, how do you feel about that?
I don't love it.
Okay.
The only thing is, so what I'm thinking about is all our finance committee meetings that we have, and there are tumbleweeds in a ghost town, and nobody comes to them, and that would be an excellent time for these residents that have financial concerns or have ideas to come, and then to form a whole nother group just seems like they're gonna have ideas, then they're gonna have to bring it to the finance. Why can't they just be there when the finance committee is already addressing these? I mean, with our zero budget base, we're pretty transparent about what we're doing and what our finances are, and looking through that, they should be able to have a conversation within those finance committee meetings. That's just my thought. I didn't mean to rain on your parade.
No, that's fine.
May I say a couple things? So another, when I think like, oh, you know, if I should go work on, you know, maybe run for the finance committee, and I've shared this with you, like where they have probably really good folks on there, and they look at like a lot of the line items. So to me, what I really
thrive on is if you have a bucket of water and you fill it up every day, and then the next day it's like half empty, and you're like, why do I keep losing water? And this bucket looks fine, and you pour more water in, you lose more water. Well, it's full of pinholes, and you don't see it, but it still adds up to a half a bucket of water every day. Whereas if it had a bigger hole, you'd be like, there's a big hole, I'm losing it. So I kind of look a little bit different than like how the finance committees do. And I'd also like to, a thought that just popped into my head, and I would welcome the opportunity to meet face to face with you. If you wanted to just put it out to different departments, like, hey, does anybody want to brainstorm? Because a lot of times it's within a department. They might be like, we always have this problem, but they might not see the solution because sometimes you're too close to it, or we've always done it this way. But I don't know. I feel like maybe there's something we could do better. And if you have different eyes, or if you talk about it to somebody, so there's different departments that maybe wanted to just because it's the people that usually do the work that sometimes might know that would be some process improvements that could work. The other ones you'd have to look at the numbers and see what the whole cost is.
Okay.
So,
Absolutely.
all right, I'll put my lip down.
No, thank you. I think with our chairman missing, it might be nice to have Peter here to discuss it further.
I think so.
So I'll ask, we'll just put it back on our agenda for our next meeting with Peter, so he can review the tape and we can discuss it again.
Okay, and then in the meantime, we'll have a meeting, or will that wait till after?
No, I think when I spoke with Gwen on the phone, I said I would reach out after town meeting, probably July. So I'll shoot you an email, and it doesn't have to be July, with a few dates and what works, and we could sort of sit in my office
Okay.
and have a discussion.
Okay.
And we'll put this back on the agenda.
Patience isn't my virtue, just, no, I understand. I know it's a busy time of year, so.
Local government, everything runs at the snail's pace.
I know, I know. Okay, so
We'll consider it in a future meeting.
okay. All right,
Thank you.
All right, so next we have review, discuss, and act facilities request for Dayton Rehoboth High School soccer car wash.
So they are requesting to have the car wash at the town garage. The only issue with this is they don't have their insurance in place yet. If the board is inclined to approve their request contingent upon them supplying us with the insurance.
Comments?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the facilities request contingent on receiving their insurance for the Dayton Rehoboth High School soccer car wash.
I'll step down in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, facilities request for the body shop, use of Carl Spratt Memorial Field.
I was very confused over this. It took me a while to understand it. The body shop is actually working on your body. So it has nothing to do. I thought it was a car. It is not. It has. It's like it's a gym. So it's at the Spratt Field. They have everything in place.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the facilities request for the body shop for the use of Spratt Memorial Field.
Okay, I'll step down in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, review, discuss, and act Southeastern Regional Service Group Award of Paper Contract to Spruce Home of Parkland, WA.
So as you know, Sursage is our group, which they go out for bid and they get the best price awards for us. So we have a paper award to Spruce Home. I ask that this board accept and sign it. There's still going on with some discussions with Spruce Home. So until it becomes finalized, then I will put it in. But if you can, they're just double checking some prices for clarification.
Don't we get is this like paper, like copy paper?
Copy paper, yeah.
So we wouldn't just get it from WB Mason anymore?
Well, we had it through a contract with Sursage. We got it from WB Mason, but these prices are better, so that's why they went with Spruce.
Is it easy to order? Because WB Mason, you just go right on the computer and click send. Is this like a easy process?
It's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask Leanne. She's the one who orders it, orders
Okay.
the paper. They have a website, setting it up, and it should be equally as easy.
Okay. Does this, like, tie your hands that you have to use it? Like, if you're running low and you need it, do you have to use this contract?
I mean, right, so if we're that bad, that's bad. Usually we're pretty good in ordering paper. We understand how much we use, but like in a pinch, yeah, you could run out and get something for Staples. But again, these are the best prices we can get. So you can't walk into a store. You can't even from WB Mason. You know, these are the best prices. So.
Okay.
So,
Any questions?
So what are we looking for, a motion to approve this?
motion to approve, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the Southeastern Regional Service Group award of paper contract to Spruce Home of Parkland.
Okay, step down in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of warrants. Make a motion to approve the warrants paid by June 18, 25, 51A 25 for $130,129.42, 51B 25 for $148,656.50, warrants paid by June 26, 2025, 52A 25 for $155,471.05, and 52B 25 for $134,646.59.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Acknowledgements, none. We've done correspondence. Next, approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen / Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 11th, 2025.
Okay, step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen / Finance Committee meetings of March 13th, 2025.
All right, I'll step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen / Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 18th, 2025.
I will step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll approve the Board of Selectmen annual town meeting minutes of June 9th, 2025.
Step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of June 11th, 2025.
Step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Public input. All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.